Hello. I'm just going to get this live stream teed up while I wait for. This is an unplanned live stream. All right. For those of you who follow this channel, you guys know I'm pretty random over here. I usually do random live streams when I, again, find things interesting, if I'm following things that are interesting. And today, I was very specific about what I wanted to engage with on the internet. All right. I was very, very specific that I wanted to engage in all of the reactions from the Candace Owens meeting with Erica Kirk. Okay. I was very interested in seeing the internet reactions. Now, I saw Candace show last night, real time, and I was looking at some of the comments. And a lot of the people in the comments were saying that Candace sold out. She sold out. Candace is not the same. What the hell is this? She was just, she fed them a bag of garbage. They thought they were going to get a spicy little rabbit hole like she's used to providing to them. And they really walked into a kind of a different Candace. And I mentioned this on my last show that you look at the body language of people, their consistency, and you can tell when somebody is starting to tiptoe, when people are starting to dance around topics that they've normally had conviction with, okay? And this is a body language thing. You don't even have to be an FBI expert. You just got to be an expert in reading other people, noticing them, looking at their consistency. And there was clearly a change in Candace Owens in her delivery yesterday. And I wanted to see would that continue on today, or will she kind of come back in with the spice of life? And lo and behold, she's doing exactly what I thought she was going to do, right? That show was a bag of garbage right now. She was just babbling about these Egyptian planes. If you follow Ian Carroll, like he's been on these Egyptian planes, honestly, nobody really gives a fuck about these Egyptian planes. If they're not relevant to Charlie Kirk's murder, which she's trying to connect these dots, right? Really, people are not interested in that. And so when you look at her show, a lot of people were like, what is this? Like, Candace sold out. And then Candace rebuttal to that is that we're getting close, guys, right? We're getting close. And the closer we get, the more internet bots that they're going to send to try to discredit me, okay? The more this they're going to send. And really, I personally believe that Candace Owens is doing damage control for herself. And I said this in my live stream. And you know what's so funny? These internet demons, they will suppress my shit only for their ugly, lame people to leech onto it so that they can deliver it and try to deliver it the same way as me. It's like, it's insane. Like, be yourself, right? And if you're truly supreme, why are you leeching off of the inferior? I would never. But, anyways, if you guys are missing this live stream or if there's some suppression going on, again, I'm very objective over here. I don't have a commitment to any side in Satan's world. All right. I don't do herd mentality. I don't do lemming mentality. All right. So if that's what you are, that's not what you're going to get over here. And again, I understand that truly objective, middle of the road perspectives are the last thing that they want people to be engaged in. So I get how these cyber demons work. But I'm going to be straight up. I think that meeting with Erica Kirk shook Candace Owens. She came back looking weird. A lot of people were trying to place her weirdness. I was like, this ain't the same Candace. She came back like almost rambling and excited and all this shit like that. I personally believe that that meeting with Erica Kirk shook her. Why do I believe that? Because, I said it last night. Candace Owens, and you could tell on her show some of the things that she said on the show, it's actually the opposite of what a lot of people are reading it. Like some people are like, "Oh, that gave Candace the upper hand." Erica Kirk came for Candace like she was Nene Leakes, like don't come for me unless I send for you. And Erica Kirk took a trip to Candace to go see her, right? But Erica Kirk, and this is obviously they have their American Fest going on, so they got to get a handle on some of this media and some of this pressure and microscope under Turning Point USA. But I personally believe, and I'm not sure if there was any, because obviously they had a lawyer with them. I'm not sure if there was any type of arbitration, if there's going to be any type of arbitration, but let's just keep it a buck. Erica Kirk actually, in Turning Point USA, actually walked in that meeting with more power than Candace Owens had in that moment, right? Because Candace Owens has her show. Yes, she is independent, right? They got conglomerates, supporting them. And that doesn't necessarily matter, but I totally believe that Erica Kirk went in there to shake her ass up. And I totally believe that Turning Point USA went in there to threaten her with lawsuits. Why do I feel this way? Because again, when you look at how hard Candace has been going and some of the shit that she's been saying, and she's been more reactive than strategic on so many different levels with her whole investigation post Charlie Kirk. And I said it before that she needed to chill, she needed to process, get herself together, right, before she was going all in on this. Because when you go all in out of desperation and reaction and feelings and emotions, you're gonna fuck up. And where Candace Owens fucked up is when she tweeted, "Get a refund," right? That was a money tweet. And a lot of people are not processing things from this angle, and that's your fault. But that was a money tweet. It was a money tweet. And because Candace has been going so hard on putting a microscope under Turning Point USA, all right, she's also looking at defamation. So through all of this shit, a person with no commitment, such as myself, right? I'm looking and seeing how shit play out. And I'm looking at all the cards that anybody can play in this. And I personally feel Turning Point USA did not come up in there to have cordial, productive conversation with her ass. They went in there to shut her ass down. And you could tell by the way she's tiptoeing and dancing around, she's diverting to the FBI. Now we got to go with that JFK narrative. We all feel like the FBI be taking revolutionaries out the game, right? Right? So she's on the FBI now. She is diverted from Turning Point USA. She's diverting from Erica. She ain't even saying shit. She's trying to do everything she can not to talk about Erica Kirk. And she's cleaning up Erica Kirk in the process, right? Candace didn't walk out of that meeting powerful at all. She didn't walk out of that meeting powerful at all. Matter of fact, she probably walked out of that meeting a little shook up because you got all these fucking lawsuits, right? I personally believe that Turning Point USA went in there with some leverage, some lawsuit leverage. The minute you tell people this is an evil organization, get refunds, that is a money post. You're fucking with people's money at that point. And that was the turning point for Turning Point USA. They weren't even thinking about Candace. They were just like, what did the Blake Neff guy say? We thought that people wouldn't really take it serious, right? But the minute Candace started touching on their money, this is when Turning Point has to get on. This is when Turning Point has to bring out their, put on the Erica card even harder, right? And they played Erica's ass. I don't know if she knows it or not, but she's definitely the sacrificial lamb. But I personally believe that this change in tune of Candace Owens is because Turning Point has legal leverage on her. She has a big enough audience to create defamation on the organization and cause financial losses. And they can actually pinpoint a loss if Candace says, get a refund, right? And then they start suffering drastic losses after she put that out on Twitter, right? And I can imagine Turning Point USA doesn't want to go the legal route with Candace Owens, right? Because they're already under a microscope. People already don't trust the organization and some of the people in it based off of some of the shit that Candace has said, right? All the dots she's been connecting, right? So, I can imagine, you know, Turning Point USA as looking at all of that and looking at possibly having leverage on Candace Owens when they went into that meeting. Like, enough with the games already, right? Like, you've been sitting up here acting like you the head bitch in charge. You've been putting a microscope under our organization. Basically, she's telling the truth, but she's pointing a lot of fingers. She's implicating a lot of people. And the thing is, even though certain people should be or maybe suspect or whatever, you really don't want to start implicating people in like certain conspiracies because that really is a risk to you, right? And so I personally believe that the reason why Candace Owens is on this babbling bullshit about the planes and now she's focused on the Jews again and the FBI, right? She's taking the microscope off of TPUSA and she's putting it on the FBI, right? She's back to this was a Fed coordinated Fed thing. It's no longer a Turning Point USA, possibly Julius Caesar, Charlie Kirk for some financial gains. Now it's a Fed coordination. And again, connecting the dots, what would be the interest of the federal government taking out Charlie Kirk outside of they were trying to do a hostile takeover of his organization? I still personally believe that Charlie is dead because of a effort to hostile take over that organization, right? Charlie, maybe Tyler Robinson was the mark to do the job, right? But he doesn't necessarily, I don't necessarily believe that Tyler Robinson was alone. A lot of people have already said he wasn't alone. And who's to say that he wasn't paid to do that shit? So, I mean, I still do believe that Charlie Kirk was a hostile takeover. Could it have been the Zionist people? Absolutely, because they're buying all American media, right? So they definitely have an interest in making sure that Turning Point USA has a leadership that is speaking more pro on their behalf than on anything that your average American may care about, like America First stuff. Yep. So let me check it. What's going on? Yes, I'm the same being intellectual. I can relate. But, anyways, you're still very beautiful. Thank you so much, Kevin. Shabbat Shalom. I do not celebrate the Sabbath on, what is today? Wednesday. My Sabbath is Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. That is the Hebrew Sabbath. The Jews did catch on to that Sabbath because obviously some of my people created that religion back in Babylon. Shame on my ancestors. And obviously it got corrupted by and re-raced by all these other people. But Judaism is an extension of an African Hebrew faith, and that is what it is. There was definitely a creation and a conversion in Babylon when the Hebrews were exiled. That's why you will never find in the 66 Canonical a book of Jews, because they weren't Jews. They were Hebrews and they were Africans. And again, if you believe in the God of Abraham, you gotta believe that from an anthropological standpoint, it would be very unloving for him to have Scandinavian, Germanic, Slavic descent people in that particular region. And that's why the people in Israel are enduring skin cancer, because the God of Abraham will not allow lies. But, anyways, you guys, let me know what you think about this. Again, I know that they're going to suppress my content so that all their little leeches can look at it like, go look at over there and try to do exactly what she's doing, right? Because they're not creative. But I do believe that Candace Owens was shook by Turning Point USA. I do believe that there are some lawsuits that they probably threatened on her or whatever. And I think that it was a strong enough threat for Candace Owens to back the fuck down. I don't think that Candace Owens sold out, right? There's a couple of scenarios that will make somebody back down. The incentive of money, yes. The incentive of money, yes. But also the incentive of a strong lawsuit, also. Because again, Candace even admitted on her show last night that she spoke out of anger when she tweeted that this is an evil organization or whatever it was, and she told people to get a refund. She said I was angry, I was speaking out of anger, but it was that admission and that tweet which is collateral for Turning Point USA. So, and it's collateral for them to say, if you don't shut the fuck up, we will sue you for financial harm and defamation. And I think that is why Candace is tiptoeing around shit, trying to divert shit right now. It's because they probably put defamation on, they put a lawsuit in her face. I gotta imagine that Turning Point USA put a lawsuit in Candace's face, and that's why she's kind of doing a shift in the way that she's delivering her show, all this juicy stuff, because again, she's causing reputational harm to Turning Point USA when she's connecting dots that put the organization under a microscope as being collaborators or conspirators to take out their own damn leader. So let me know what you think about that. Yeah, that's true. But Turning Point has raised over $140 million after his death. Here's the thing: they raised $140 million post Charlie Kirk's death. But I think if you look at the timing of Candace Owens's tweets, it's not about the donors, right? It's about the subscribers, the people, the public. Because what is Turning Point USA sole objective here? It is to be an influence on that conservative base, right? They are influencers. Anybody donating to Turning Point USA is buying the influence in that organization. And the bigger your donors are, obviously, the more influence they can wield in your organization. It's just like a shareholders, right? In a company. Your large shareholders, you're kind of beholden to them, right? Because they're kind of your bread and butter in some kind of way, right? But for Turning Point USA, their goal is to sway elections. Their goal is to influence a certain electorate base. So if you have the conservative base in shambles and their center of influence is under a microscope for taking out possibly the beloved leader of it, right? That's not going to look good for Turning Point USA. It's not going to look good for Turning Point USA. And even if Candace is throwing out just theories and she's connecting little dots and kind of revealing things that, people wish would have kept private, right? I think, when you're talking about planting seeds of doubt, reasonable doubt, she does a very good job of doing that. And you can tell by her audience right now, they are not happy with how she's coming back at them. And Candace is kind of trying to get a jump on that by saying, oh, it's just bots, guys. They know that when we're too close, it's just bots. No, you're not taking accountability for you let these people down a freaking rabbit hole that you basically, again, left them blue balls. The people are feeling blue balled, right? She wants you guys to start looking at her next conspiracy of Egyptian planes, not Turning Point USA, Julius Caesaring, Charlie Kirk, possibly. So I don't think the girl sold out. I do not think Candace Owens sold out. I think that she is looking at legal pressures. And the reason why, because somebody was talking about her body language, the reason why she's kind of looking over, there could be a lawyer in the room George could be like, man, get the fuck out of here with this, Candace. Now you're gonna fucking deplete us doing this shit, right? Because the money coming in got to offset the money coming out. If you get hit with a whole bunch of lawsuits, and we know how Zionist people rock, they believe in depleting you. They believe in bankrupting you. Money on the mind. It's these types of people, and I'm not just talking about the Jewish one. I'm talking about the Christians one too. Zionist people got money on their mind. They got your money on their mind, they money on their mind, her money on their mind, everybody money on their mind. And if there's an opportunity to deplete your damn money, right, they're going to take it. And they love the legal system because a lot of them are infused in it, right? So Candace is backing down because I think that Turning Point USA probably got enough Zionist lawyers that's woven into the system, right, that could cause her great financial harm. Great financial harm. And she's already getting sued by other people. So Candace definitely needs to be more careful. I think maybe her husband's family is probably stepping in at this point and saying, you need to check your wife. All right. She's going to start costing this family money, and that's when we need to get rid of her ass. I would really love to see how George and Candace are really talking to each other, with all this stuff. Is George a beta male? Do he just really believe in all the shit that Candace is doing that's costing them money? Probably making them money too, but costing them money probably all the same if you got a lot of lawsuits, right? And it's putting y'all damn family in danger. Right? Candace Owens against the FBI. Come on now. Candace Owens against the FBI. Anyways, you said she has definitely shifted. Of course she did. When you got probably a multi-million-dollar lawsuit that probably can be won because you got a bunch of paper trail online that actually can make that lawsuit winnable, right? Of course you're going to shift your tone. I said this last night. She sounded weird, and I alluded to it last night. Maybe Erica Kirk really came up in there to say, you're going to shut the fuck up because we'll sue you, right? We're going to productively talk. That conversation was probably very, very productive. This is what you can say. This is what you cannot say, right? They probably went over all the things that Candace said, right? But at the heart of anything, Candace may not have said anything that was not untruthful. Maybe she's quoting the wrong people. Sometimes we give people human error for making mistakes, right? But it is the microscope under Turning Point USA that she was a laser focus on, right? Tyler Robinson was almost like a hoax in a lot of her investigation. It was like the FBI is just throwing us a bag of bullshit, which I believe, right? But she was focused on an inside job, coordination. Now she is going to be shifting back to the FBI. Because I totally believe that Turning Point USA gave her a legal ultimatum. And that's why she's not speaking with as much conviction today. That's why she's giving people bags of bullshit about Egyptian planes and all that shit. Right? Which could be pertinent. Like, we know that the FBI and the CIA and all these intelligence agents, they got people, sacks of people, safe houses, trap houses, every fucking where. Right? We know that. You know what I mean? But this is where Candace is going to send her audience. Now, they're not going to talk about Turning Point USA. They're going to not talk about Erica Kirk. On the flip side, I'm pretty sure that Turning Point USA is like, we probably need to shelve Erica for a while, right? We got to be able to revamp her image. And the best way to do that is to send her ass back home with them damn kids and let her be a truly grieving widow. Not a hustler. Right? Because she wasn't even making Candace. She was actually making everything that Candace was saying about Turning Point USA when she was laser focused on them. All that shit Erica was doing was actually making the shit that Candace was saying seem true and highly plausible. So hopefully they will shelf Erica as well, because she just needs to be shelved, right? Just let her be a grieving widow. Get somebody that people don't know to be an interim face for the organization until a lot of this shit has settled. That's me. You said I don't think it's just a sellout. It's a need. It's a need to survive and keep doing this job. I mean, here's the thing: if Candace Owens' job is chasing rabbit holes, sending people down rabbit holes. I mean, the rabbit holes that she sent people down are very interesting, right? So, I mean, she's entertainment at best. And I think that she does introduce critical points in discussions that, obviously if you're being gaslit, you do want a more broader perspective on some of the bullshit that these lying ass people like to put out. Because they're manipulators. The media, they're full of manipulators. A lot of the shit on the internet is full of projection and manipulation, right? So you do need objective voices on the mic, kind of helping you navigate some of your own thoughts and kind of some of the things that you're seeing. But at the end of the day, when you're in a business of going down rabbit holes and those rabbit holes implicate people, they put organizations, intelligence organizations under a microscope. You got to be prepared to understand that those people don't come at people like, you know, it's not going to be a word for word fight. They're going to try to take you out of the game, or they're going to try to bankrupt you. They're going to try to make sure that you never ever be able to just survive in society, because they are that evil. These people got the devil in them, right? Like I said, if you're a Zionist, you got evil spirits and Satan attached to you. So these people are running the country, and they have evil inclinations. And, there's nothing that Candace Owens is going to do to stop the disease of Zionism in America. There's nothing that anybody is going to do, because this is Satan's chosen nation, and those are Satan's chosen people. And that's just what it is, you know? So, anyways, I agree. I don't think that Candace Owens sold out. I don't think she had an opportunity to sell out. I think that she was legalized, if you will. She was given a legal ultimatum, and she can rebut this if she wants to. But I personally believe that Turning Point USA put a legal ultimatum on the table for her to change her tune. Candace was not in that meeting big dogging Erica Kirk at all, because Turning Point already knew that they had a card to play with Candace. And the only reason why they're not playing the lawsuit card with Candace probably is because they don't want to add more rift to the base. They don't want to add more scrutiny of them, right? So it's like, if you keep doing this, we'll say fucking and do it anyways, right? But we're giving you an ultimatum here. You stop doing this shit, and we won't drop lawsuits. So Turning Point USA had a card to play. And the reason why I think she's pussyfooting right now on conversation, she's not speaking with the conviction, is because she got checked in that meeting. Candace got checked in that meeting. I don't care what people think, how dogmatic they think Candace is, she's checkable. Because anytime you do anything out of emotion and reactions, you're always going to fuck up. You're always going to make a mistake. And her mistake was that money tweet. And I kept saying that. Turning Point didn't even care about this investigation up until she started fucking with the money and also fucking with the influence. Right? She was messing with their influence. Because when they're under a microscope, those people that they're supposed to be influencing as a voting base, they're not trusting these people. And with Charlie Kirk gone, they don't know these other people like that to just have trust in them like that. So they're going to trust Candace. They're going to trust Candace. So Turning Point USA already knew that in terms of influence, a lot of their influence was diverting to Candace. And it diverted to Candace because Candace went harder and has been going harder to figure out what really happened to their leader than they are. They're like, oh, we Tyler Robinson, right? Tyler Robinson, we're gonna let the justice system play out, which is a good argument too, right? Because again, a lot of Candace's side chick accusations, I don't want to call them conspiracies because I think it takes more than one person to create a conspiracy. And if she's just coming up with these conclusions by herself, her and her team hashing stuff, and I don't necessarily feel like she's pushing out conspiracies. I think what she is pushing out critical thinking about things. But she messed up. She messed up when she said, get a refund. She messed up when she tweeted that this organization, whatever she called them, and told the people to get a refund. That was a money tweet, and that was definitely grounds, especially if Turning Point saw a change in subscriptions or anything like that after that tweet. That was definitely grounds for defamation, financial harm, reputational harm, and they could sue her for that. They could definitely have a case for that. And I think knowing that is why dear Candace is talking about all this other shit. She's babbling right now. She's babbling. She knows that her audience is not happy about what she came back reporting from that meeting. She knows that her audience is like, why didn't you ask these questions? Did you ask these questions? Right? And she's not delivering for them what they wanted to hear. Why aren't you talking about Erica's family? Did you ask her about Erica's family? And some of this shit that Candace Owens' audience wanted her to ask in that meeting was just fucking stupid. Right? Like, why would Candace take that meeting to talk about Erica's family or some Christian organization in Romania? That don't really have anything to do with Charlie Kirk. That's more conspiratorial on her personal reputation, but that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with what Candace Owens is doing with the Charlie Kirk investigation. So why would they want her to ask her about Romanian and some children in Romania, right? Kind of not really the purpose of that meeting. So I don't understand why they would expect that. But again, everybody operates on different intelligent levels. But anyways, you guys, I'm not going to stay on for very long. Let me know what you think about this live stream. It was an unplanned live stream, but I just happened to be catching bits of Candace's show, and I'm like, she's still tiptoeing. She's still kind of babbling. She still don't look very comfortable, right? And I think that she's just feeding people a bag of bullshit right now. And like I said, kind of even gaslighting these people because I feel like she knows she has to change course on this conversation. She's no longer going to be giving them, some of that juiciness about Turning Point USA that she was giving them. I think that a lot of those people really liked that microscope under Erica Kirk as well. And she's not giving them that. And so that's why they think that she sold out. But instead of thinking that Candace sold out, maybe consider that she was hit with a possible lawsuit or a threat of a lawsuit for defamation and financial harm, and she's backing down and she's pivoting. She's pivoting, right? She's pivoting. Let's not say back down. Let's just say that Candace has to pivot. But anyways, you guys, love your neighbor as yourself. If you would not disrespect or abuse yourself, do not disrespect or abuse your neighbor. And again, Galatians 5:22 and 23. It talks about the fruitages of God's Spirit. And when you think about these individuals who call themselves Christian Zionists and Jewish Zionists or Zionists of the like, right? Look at the spirit of those people. Look at the spirits of those people. I'll tell you what you'll find. You'll find people who don't know it, but they follow the Balaam doctrine. And for those of you who, you know, study your Bible, right? You guys know about Balaam in the Bible, right? He was a prosperity doctrine person, right? You hear about these prosperity Christians, they follow the prosperity doctrines. You look at some of these evangelicals, these are overt money worshipers. All right. And a lot of these people are Zionists, right? So they got wicked spirits attached to their souls. You'll be able to see it right away in their reactions, how they function. If you are truly awake, I don't like the term woke because sometimes I'll be like woke, but I'm not completely aware. But if you are completely aware and awake, right, you're going to start seeing spirits attached to other human beings. You're literally going to be able to see the wicked spirits attached to other human beings. Zionist Christians and Jews have wicked spirits attached to them. There's a reason why these people try to throw rocks and then hide their hands and try to act like victims, right? Because these truly are antagonizing people because they belong to their father, the devil. So I don't blame Candace Owens for going in on Zionists. I really, like for people to be specific when they're talking about whole groups of people because I don't believe that every Jewish person, specifically Jewish American, I don't have any thought about those people in Israel. It's not my country. They're not my people. But the Jewish people in America, obviously, these are my countrymen, right? And so I do think that it's very, very important when you were talking about groups of people, whether it's black people, Jews, white people, Asians, it don't matter. You got to be specific. You got to break people down into segments so that when we're talking about the spread of anti Semitism and we're talking about the spread of hate, a lot of this is because people are, and these are credible commentators, and they're emotionally talking about things. Sorry, I got these plant gnats that I need to. I got to get some more of those little sticky things. I think I'm overwatering my plants. So sorry about that. But you got, and what was I saying? Where was I going? Just look out for the evil spirits attached to other people. And when you are truly awake, you're going to start seeing these things in people, how they react to things, and even the bandwagon of ignorances that they're on. You know what I mean? And a lot of times when you are a true Christian or a true believer, especially if you're somebody who is a believer in Abrahamic faith extensions, is what I call Christianity, Judaism. Um, you got to go back to the fruitages of the spirit, right? You got to go back to the fruitages of the spirit. And you got to ask yourself in each one of those items, do I manifest these things intentionally, right? Or am I trolling people? Am I doing things for clicks and likes and money? Because I truly do believe that a lot of stuff that Candace is doing is for money. She knows that she can send people down a conspiracy. People love conspiracies, all right? People love, when, when somebody can validate, something that they're thinking about. People love that they will buy into it, right? But at the end of the day, if you're a Christian, why are you distracted with this stuff? Why are you distracted with this stuff? And why is this stuff sending you out of the fruitages of God's Spirit? And people get mad at me because I'm very facetious and I laugh. I'm very cynical about this stuff because I don't vest my energy like that, my emotional energy into this stuff, right? Because it's Satan's world. I know this is a fading world. And if you truly believe in the promises of the Bible, I don't understand how a lot of you people are distracted with this stuff. Like, why aren't you knee deep in Bible prophecies? Why aren't you challenging what your pastor is saying or not saying to you? Right? Why aren't you knee deep in your faith like you're knee deep in the affairs of men, these politics? And this is how you know you have a wicked spirit attached to you. And a lot of you people are going to be like Lot's wife. A lot of you people have the spirit of Lot's wife. And Lot's wife, she turned around. It wasn't about she didn't believe in God. She believed in the God of Abraham, right? She turned around because she was longing for the things of Sodom and Gomorrah. She did not want to see Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed. And a lot of you people are like that with Satan's world today. You're so invested. I'm going to save my country that's in Satan's world, right? And a lot of you guys are like Lot's wife. You are attached to this wicked system of things, and you don't have any notion. You don't even want to think about it being destroyed. Matter of fact, a lot of you guys, and it says it in the Bible, in those days, the hearts are going to grow cold towards the Most High. Because a lot of you people who say you have faith in God, when the shit really hits the fan in these, because these governments, these world governments, are going to collapse. There's going to be global war again. And a lot of you who claim that you have faith in God, when you start losing shit, right, you're not going to be like Job. You're not going to be like Job at all. You're going to curse God. Your heart towards God is going to turn cold, and a lot of you are there. So I pray for everybody. I just wanted to put this out here because Candace Owens, she says she's a Christian, right? And to be honest with you, she's an apostate to me. She is an apostate. She is another Christian that weaponizes Christianity and faith so that they can have a badge of credibility. But if you truly care about people, if you truly care about truth, you need to be centering on biblical truth and the reality and how it relates to this world today. These people aren't really doing that. They're cherry picking scriptures, trying to give you some moral compass to just jump onto, and they don't understand the scriptures. They don't understand the ancient texts. And it's going to be sad for a lot of these people because when, judgment time comes, and these people are like, I'm Christian, I'm this. And, they say, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name? Did we not perform every good work in your name? Did we not expel demons in your name? And he is going to say, I never knew you. Get away from me, you workers of lawlessness. So when I heard somebody, Megan Kelly said something like, and when she was talking about, her show and people expecting her to say certain things, and she's like, God's work, and God doesn't want me to do that. First of all, none of y'all doing God's work. Your podcast is not God's work, it's your work. All right, that's one thing. If you, whatever you are doing does not align with God's will that is outlined in the Bible, right, it's your will, your work, and God has nothing to do with it. And that's just the bottom line. It's just the bottom line. Especially if what you do is this vitriol shit. So Candace Owens is just another demon to me, right? She's not doing God's work. She's doing her own work. And I wish that so-called Christians would stop looking at people like Candace Owens as doing God's work. She's doing the work of a human in Satan's system of things, just like those Zionists that she cannot stand. The ones who raised her. The ones who gave her come up. We wouldn't even know Candace Owens without the Zionists. And that's just 100%. But anyways, you guys, have a wonderful rest of your day. Hopefully the FBI will stop suppressing and the Zionists will stop suppressing my live streams. But this is the real truth that people need to be hearing. This is the real truth that people need to be thinking about. Especially if you're a person of faith, you have a commitment to Satan's world, and maybe you need to work on that. Anyways, you guys, bye.